There's not only corporate disputes about this area of oil, there's also nation-to-nation disputes. We see reports that Venezuela is lining up troops along the Guyanese border. So give us a sense, how important is this oil reserve in Guyana? I've seen reports it's about 11 billion barrels of oil and gas, and really called the gem of this deal for Hess.
I mean, Guyana has been the explosive growth story in the oil markets. 5 years ago, Guyana was producing 0 barrels a day. Now it is producing 650,000. It has been one of the principal drivers in terms of oil supply in this market. Obviously, hugely important to Exxon. The key reason behind Chevron's desire to acquire Hess. And it's a subject, as you just mentioned, of a territorial dispute. Venezuela has claimed that they have sovereignty over major offshore acreage, and that is now being contested in the International Court of Justice. Venezuela has deployed thousands of troops to the border. The UK has sent a warship down to the territorial waters. So we are watching this as a commercial story, but also as a geopolitical story as well.
All right, so it's a geopolitical story as well. I do have to ask, a find of this kind in South America, how is the rest of the oil-producing world, how are they responding to this find? What does it have? Does it have potential to disrupt some of the already paradigms that we have when it comes to the oil market?
I mean, certainly you can see the Venezuelan action as an indication that it is a subject of dispute within this region, again, a potential driver of instability. But it also is shifting calculations of a group like OPEC. You know, OPEC now has to contend with, growth coming from the Americas. Remember, the shale story was all about capital discipline. Now we have other producers that they have to contend with. Brazil has also seen extensive growth over the past couple years. So now we have Brazil, we have this big Guyana story. So if you are OPEC, you have to contend with growth coming from the Americas when you set your production policies.
All right. Helima, I want to turn to the crisis in the Middle East for just a second. Obviously, that has some impact on the oil market as well. President Biden last night saying he's looking for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, possibly as soon as Monday. But now this morning, we're hearing from the Qatar Foreign Ministry saying there is no agreement between Hamas and Israel on any of the issues linked to the Gaza ceasefire. Your reaction?
I mean, this is the key issue that we're watching. I mean, clearly you would need some type of ceasefire to see a de-escalation in disputes like what we're seeing in the Red Sea. The Houthis have said they will continue to target tankers until there is a permanent ceasefire. We're also watching the potential, expansion of this conflict into Lebanon. We continue to highlight the risk of, if you do see an Israeli ground offensive in Lebanon, that is a potential path to a wider conflict involving Iran. President Biden, desperately wants some type of de-escalation in this crisis. But again, nothing to indicate that we are approaching that yet.
Yeah, so again, something just crossing a short time ago, Qatar saying that the main points, there has not been an agreement when it comes to those. I just want to talk to you about the oil market more broadly. It really seems like oil has been kind of range-bound, just barely getting across that $80 mark when it comes to Brent. Give us a sense, in your mind, with what you're seeing, other than OPEC production cuts, is there anything else that could move the oil market higher at all? And should investors be mindful of how range-bound it's been? I mean, do you expect that to change anytime this year?
I mean, I still think there is considerable wake-up risk from this war in the Middle East. I mean, investors are essentially saying, look, we bet on supply disruptions coming out of the Russia-Ukraine war, and yet Russian exports remained resilient. So they're looking at this situation in the Israel-Hamas war and saying, we have no major supply disruptions. Yes, we are having a tankers attacked in the Red Sea, but we still have supply making it to the market. But I would just say we need to continue to watch any signs that this war spreads to key producers like Iran. Right. We are watching, again, the situation very closely in Lebanon because Iran is the principal backer of Hezbollah. So if we have Israel ground offensive there is a real risk that it does become a wider war involving Iran. And that would potentially put at risk supplies in places like the Straits of Hormuz.